Okay, so I did a thing. I read 12 of the most popular self-help books out there, all in just 30 days, because I really wanted to know what all the hype was about. And honestly, most of them were a complete waste of my time. But 3 of them, man, these 3, they actually changed how I lived my life. So I'm going to cut through all the chaos for you and share what actually worked, what really didn't, and which popular ideas you can just skip. And look, I'm not just saying that for a fact. This self-help aisle is it's jam-packed with the same ideas repackaged over and over and a lot of feel-good fluff that just falls apart in the real world. I was getting so frustrated. But then, buried in all that noise, I found a few core ideas that made the whole crazy experiment totally worth it. And get this, it turns out I'm not the only one who feels this way. There was some research where they gave people a self-help book for migraines, and less than 5% of them actually put the advice into practice. 5%! That number nails the problem perfectly, right? We read the stuff, we get all inspired for like a day, and then nothing changes. My goal was to find the stuff that's in that other 5%. All right, so let's get into it. Before we even touch what worked, we ought to clear out some of the junk. There are these 2 massive ideas in the self-help world that you see everywhere, but when you actually look into them, the science is a lot shakier than you'd think. Okay, first on the chopping block, the growth mindset. You've heard of this for sure. It's in schools, it's in corporate training, it's everywhere. The idea is simple. If you just believe you can get smarter, you'll succeed. And listen, it sounds amazing, and Carol Dweck's original research was a big deal. But somewhere down the line, the whole message got twisted and way too simplified. So here's the reality check. Big studies that tried to copy the original results, they found that these growth mindset programs had a tiny, almost non-existent effect on how well students did. Even Dweck herself has called out what she calls a false growth mindset, where people just get praised for trying hard but aren't actually taught any new strategies. Believing you can get better isn't the magic bullet. You need a plan for how you're going to get better, and you need people around you who actually support that. Oh boy, this one. This one is all over social media. The story they tell is that our brains are totally addicted to dopamine from our phones and social media, and that we need to go on a dopamine fast to reset everything. It sounds super scientific, but from a biological standpoint, it's complete and utter nonsense. So this is the part everybody gets wrong. Dopamine is not the pleasure molecule. It's one of the biggest myths in pop psychology. Real research shows it's the molecule of motivation. It's what drives you to want something. It's the craving, the seeking, the wanting, not the liking you get when you actually have it. It's what keeps you scrolling for that next video, not the joy you feel watching it. And this is exactly why a dopamine detox is such a terrible idea. If you could actually magically remove all the dopamine from your brain, you wouldn't feel zen and focused. You'd be incredibly sick. Parkinson's disease is literally caused by the brain not having enough dopamine. They've done studies where mice who can't produce it lose all motivation and just starve to death, even when food is sitting right there. So no, you really, really don't want less dopamine. So after basically debunking these 2 huge ideas, I was a little lost. I was like, okay, if that's all just hype, then what's actually true? And that's when I found it. The one framework that was hiding underneath all the books that did work. It's kind of like finding the user manual for your own brain. Now, I know what you're thinking. Therapy? Isn't that for like serious mental health problems? And yeah, it is used for that, but the basic model behind it, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, it's honestly the most practical tool I found for just understanding why we do the things we do. And it's not complicated, it's just a simple loop. This right here is the whole key. Something happens in the world, that's the situation. Let's say your boss sends a 1-word email that just says, urgent. You immediately have a thought, like, oh no, I messed something up. That thought creates a feeling, anxiety. And then that feeling drives the behavior. You avoid opening the email. See? Most of us think the situation directly causes our feelings, but there's that crucial step in the middle, your thoughts. And that is where you have power. You can't control the situation, and you can't just switch off your feelings, but you can learn to change your thoughts and your behaviors. As soon as I understood that CBT model, it was like everything else just clicked into place. The 3 books that actually helped me, they weren't selling some magic cure. They were just giving me really practical, no-fluff tools to work with that thought and behavior loop. The first, and maybe the most powerful tool, came from a book called Getting Things Done by David Allen. It directly attacks that constant low-grade anxiety you feel when you have a million little to-dos bouncing around in your brain. That mental clutter, it's a major source of those unhelpful automatic thoughts. This quote explains it all. Your brain is for having ideas, not for holding them. It's going to keep nagging you about buying milk or emailing that client at 3 in the morning because it doesn't trust that you'll remember to do it later. The fix is to get every single little task, idea, and reminder out of your head and into a system you can actually trust. A notebook, an app, doesn't matter. Once your brain trusts that system, it finally lets go. It's literally like freeing up RAM on your computer. All right, so you've cleared your head, which is great. Now you want to build a new habit. Maybe start going to the gym. This is where a lot of self-help books get really demanding. But the best advice I found was the total opposite of that. Don't aim high, aim so ridiculously low that you can't possibly fail. So I read both Atomic Habits and Tiny Habits, and the difference was huge. Atomic Habits is a good book, but it really feels like it's for top performers. It's all about getting your reps in, being consistent, which can feel like a lot of pressure. Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg, on the other hand, felt like it was made for normal people like me. His whole thing is to lower the bar so much that it's impossible to say no. Don't promise yourself a 30-minute workout. Just commit to putting on your workout shoes. That's it. That's the habit. It sounds silly, but it works because it completely bypasses that part of your brain that thinks, oh, I'm too tired. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, which I got from Cal Newport's amazing book, Deep Work. This one tackles what is probably the biggest challenge for all of us today: distraction. Because even if your head is clear and your habits are tiny, you're not going to make much progress if you can't actually focus. Deep work is basically the superpower of the 21st century. It's the ability to just shut out all the noise and focus intensely on one single difficult thing. It's not about working more hours, not at all. It's about getting way more value out of the hours you do work. When you're in that deep work zone, you learn things faster, you create better stuff. It's a total game changer. And here's the beautifully simple recipe for it. Think about how a lion hunts: an intense, focused sprint followed by a real period of rest. So you set a timer for 90 minutes. Your phone goes in another room, no excuses, close all your extra tabs and focus on just one thing. And when that timer goes off, you stop. You take a real 15-minute break. Walk around, get some water, stare out the window, but do not check your phone. Scrolling your phone isn't rest, it's just another type of distraction. So after 30 days and 12 books, what's the big picture lesson here? Well, it's definitely not about finding some magical hack that's going to fix your life overnight. It's about being a little more skeptical and a lot more practical. So if you take anything away from this, let it be this: question the hype, always. Understand that your thoughts drive your feelings. That's where your real power is. Get everything out of your head and into a trusted system. Start new habits by making them impossibly small. And protect your focus like it's the most valuable thing you own. Because honestly, it is. So forget about the dopamine detoxes and the grand life-changing manifestos for a minute. Just think about that CBT loop. What is one automatic thought you have that you could maybe question today? Or what's one impossibly small behavior you could try? Because that's where the real change actually begins.